Good afternoon, everybody. My name is Arizona Jenkins. I am the chair of the ADA Administrative Committee. This meeting will now call order. Please have your devices for the duration of the meeting. Welcome to the November 16th ADA Central Committee meeting. This meeting will be for and highway reform is the president of the HART office at 1 East 7th Avenue, Florida Conference Room, and the rest of the board members are presented with the community. Please to do the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic which stands one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Now that will call the roll call.
Yes, sir, thank you. Committee Chair Jenkins?
Yeah.
Committee Member Guazdala? Committee Member Levy? Committee Member LeBou?
Present.
Committee Member Luce?
Present.
Committee Member Poncho?
Present.
Committee Member Velasquez?
Present.
Committee Member Williams? And Committee Member Wazork.
Here.
You do have a quorum, sir.
Do we have a goal? Do we have a goal?
Yes, sir, yes, you do.
Okay. We also have two new members. What's the name?
Ms. Luce.
Ms. Luke and
Mr. Guazdala.
thank you. Would you like to say anything?
Well, this is Diane Luce. I just want to thank the committee for selecting me to be a member. I'm looking forward to serving with all of you. I'm new to the Tampa area, but I have a lot of energy and passion for accessibility, specifically where it relates to transportation. So in my work with people with vision impairments, at Lighthouse, I deal with it every day, right there on the street. So looking forward to getting to know all of you better and making progress with you and helping HART be the best it can be.
Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you. And Louis?
I think I. On now? There, it's on now. It's pressing into the wrong place. Yeah, I'm glad to be here as well. I found it interesting that we don't know whose seats exactly we have, but Gloria Mills Hicks and I were colleagues and friends for a long time, and the vacancy that one of us is on is the result of her passing. And so I'm glad to be here and to represent the disabled community. I specifically have an expertise in the ADA as it pertains to service animals and also transportation issues. So I'm glad to be here and be of service to the community in this respect. So thank you for electing me to this body. Hope we can make a difference together.
So it's May and August. Are there any comments?
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
No, again, no. Everybody look at the minute? We're gonna approve the minute. Do I have a motion to approve the minute?
Can I make a correction to the minutes?
Yeah.
Gloria's name is Gloria Mills Hicks, and not hyphenated. I believe it was in an opposite order, and it was Hicks instead of Hicks. So it's Gloria Mills Hicks. Other than that, They look pretty good. Has there been a motion? If not, I'll make one.
The minute of the May 18 and the August 17, 88 meeting. Is there any comments? Did it? All right, then we need to,
So we are recording your comments, Mr. Guazdala?
I'm sorry?
did you,
We did record your comments, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
any other comments?
I'll second.
I gotta put a motion in first. So you made the motion?
Committee Chair, Committee Member Guazdala had made a motion to accept the minutes, or to approve the minutes with the correction. And so then Committee Member Williams was seconding his motion.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir.
Thank you. It's been, is there like motion, motion carried?
I'm gonna ask if all in favor.
I'm fine. I'm new at this too, so. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Say nay. No nay, all right, motion approved. All right. Next is the presenter, December 2023 service changes.
Good afternoon, Justin Willits, Director of Service Planning, or Planning and Scheduling, depending on who you ask. Here to go over the December 23 service changes for fixed route. Big picture here, we're modifying schedules on roughly half of the bus routes, all the way from routes 1 to 48. I'll touch on those with each slide. And then the significant changes are alignment and routing changes to routes 8 and 9. We'll take it from the top here with Route 1. There are some runtime adjustments to hopefully improve on-time performance. And there has also been 2 stop removals on the southbound Tampa Street segment of the route. There was a signal project that recently went in north of the 2 locations shown here. The locations I have shown are Tampa Street at Henderson and Tampa Street at K Street, which is under the interstate. We've proposed to eliminate those 2 stops, and for a number of reasons, but one is that the stop directly north that serves this location now has a signalized crossing with brand new ADA ramps, and it's a really nice improvement for the corridor, but that was partially why we made this adjustment, and there was pretty low ridership and low boardings per day at these 2 locations. Those 2 stops are also affect Route 6, which also has some runtime adjustments. Something else that we've done, we've got a number of complaints and issues associated with the high school. Mostly at the end of the day, when they get out around 3 o'clock, we have what we call a crush load, is when the bus is too full to let anybody else on. So what we've done is we've added a special trip on the Route 6. We call that a tripper, and we've added that at that time frame to help ease the load. Because what will happen is if all the school children will get on, the bus continues down the road, and then we can't allow other customers to get on the bus until the next trip. So it has some pretty bad effects for everyone. On-time performance, the riders, the operators, a number of reasons. So that's why we've added a tripper on this route. And then the rest of these are just going to be slight departure time adjustment for Route 7. And then when we get to Route 8, we have some schedule modifications, but this is one of the alignment changes that's going to be pretty impactful. There is a construction project actually just around the corner from us, about 3 blocks south of where we're sitting now. The roundabout on Channelside Drive and 4th Avenue that connects to Nuccio is going to be closed for a number of years for a massive residential, commercial, mixed-use construction project. So we're detouring around that, but implementing the route change as permanent until that construction is complete. And then we will likely resume the path of 4th to Channelside Drive. So now that routing will be Channelside Drive to Adamo to 19th Street and then back on 4th Avenue where it currently operates. That construction is also affecting Route 9. This route also has some on-time performance issues that we've been planning to address anyway. So this construction has kind of helped influence this change, but we are removing that route south of the Selman Expressway on Channelside, Kennedy, Meridian Avenue, Cumberland, and we are now going to keep that route, which comes down 14th and 15th Street to Nuccio, and instead of passing through the roundabout, it will stay on Nuccio Parkway, travel to Nebraska Avenue, serve Twiggs in downtown before traveling on the Marion Transitway to the Transit Center. So we're pretty excited about that opportunity. It should help with the on-time performance and provide better service for customers and a little more consistency for the operators to make their time points and provide the right service. A couple of other adjustments that actually Route 9 is going to be interlined with Route 10 to help with that route's on-time performance. Route 10 is on Cypress and travels to the Tampa International Airport. And then there are some runtime adjustments to Route 19 in South Tampa, and the frequency is being adjusted. It was increased to 30 minutes during just the peak hours, but we are moving it back to 60 minutes. What we found is the ridership is not really increasing. It's really just splitting the load across several bus trips. So that is going back to 60 minutes to help us adjust some things elsewhere in the network as well. And I did want to, because this is the only route we have serving Tampa General, I did want to make a note to point out for the spring markup, we are contemplating some changes to the Route 19. I've asked service development staff to come up with some alternatives to better serve TGH and to identify where the core ridership's coming from and how we could serve it a little bit differently. The preliminary, we have a couple of preferred ideas that are going to be pretty unworkable for some other routes to extend from the north to the south. And the main thing that is informing this assignment I've given staff is we know about 80% of the boardings and alightings at TGH are coming from the north part of our system. So we want to better connect those folks to TGH directly and remove the need to transfer at Marion or reduce the need for most of the people taking those trips. So that's going to have impacts on Route 19 and how we operate in that area. So just wanted to put that in front of you because I know this is a quarterly meeting. So by the time we come back, we'll have that fleshed out a little bit more. So any feedback you have on that item, I'd be happy to take later in this meeting. I can hang out afterwards and talk a little bit about that. But I just did want to get that out there since I won't see you next month. Moving on to Route 12. This is another alignment change. We've been temporarily detouring this route because of some signalization and progression issues on Cass Street in downtown. We are now going to be operating for the future on Harrison Street between the Marion Transit Center and Nebraska Avenue. Encore is a mixed income community that is not fully built out yet, but there is some density there. There's some of our customers there, and we feel like that operating on Cass Street is not probably as convenient and accessible as the service is now on Harrison Street through that development. So we really like this change. It's helped us improve some of the performance, the on-time performance of the route, and it just seems like a better fit for that side of downtown, given the nature of the development that's going in there. Routes 14 on Armenia and Howard and routes 36 on Dale Mabry and Himes have some departure time adjustments and have been interlined to help with some on-time performance issues associated with Route 36. That is a very long route and it's spread a little too thin right now, so we're really happy about this change and think it's going to have positive impacts on everyone. Route 16 and 34 have runtime adjustments as well. And the Route 16 has a slightly earlier departure time from Northwest to provide better connections in the early morning with Route 1. It's a very specific request we received that we were able to implement this service change. Routes 30 and 31 have basic runtime adjustments, 33 and 48. Similarly, there was an issue with the Route 33 departing St. Joe's North, and a very specific customer that was having trouble connecting to the last trip on that route, so we've formalized that and put it back in the schedule. It was what we call deadheading from the end of the line. So instead of deadheading back to the garage at the end of the evening, we've made that a revenue service trip so that it's actually in service on its way back and can get this specific person back to the transit center in North Tampa over there. So it was a pretty significant improvement. I was happy we could include. Some minor adjustments to the HART Flex in Port Tampa, and a few minor bus stop changes on the 360LX, and how we are serving the Brandon Mall. Route 45 has a few stop modifications associated with the CVS. Nothing major there, and that actually gets us to the end. I'll take any questions or comments.
Does the committee have any questions?
Marion?
Raise your hand if you do.
Ms.
I'm
Williams?
sorry?
Raise your hand if you can.
I'm sorry. My protocol is different. I said my name, so.
All right, go ahead, man.
See if I can remember all three. First of all, how far behind will the tripper be running? Because I assume that's what it's gonna do. It's gonna be like two buses running and one's full, then it'll just only drop?
Yeah, so the headways on Route 6 are every 20 minutes, so this will slide in for 10 minutes, so right in between 20-minute headways, so it will be every 10 minutes for a
Okay.
30-minute, 20-minute span.
The Route 8 will pick up 4th Avenue over here at Nucio?
It will take 4th Avenue to 19th and then go down to Adamo to get to Channel Side.
4th Avenue to 19th.
Yeah, so we are at about, if Nuccio had a number, I think it would be 13th.
12, 13, yeah.
So basically, we are not traveling on 4th Avenue from 13th to 19th because of this construction. So we're going to be traveling on Adamo between that segment of 4th Avenue. Try not to.
It's very interesting that it becomes more and more difficult to come to HART board meetings and these meetings because that route gets further and further away from here. I had to walk 7 blocks just to get here, and it was starting to rain. So, you know, really HART should make it a priority to have accessibility to its facilities, and you keep moving it further away.
Well, if I may, if you come into the meeting, you need to call Ms. Kimberly Green, get your man to pick you up.
You know, but if you want to take the fixed route,
Well,
you know,
I'm just
I mean,
saying,
I
you
don't
know.
always take paratransit because fixed route is more convenient for me. I have a schedule. I don't have to sit here for 30 minutes. You know, we got a lot of problems with that. So, I mean, you want, and what about the community that doesn't use HART Plus and they want to come here? Now they got to walk from 19th and 4th to get here? It's just,
Yeah,
you know,
one of the
we
things-
talk, I got other things to say about customer service, and that's just, that just, it seems like customer service is an afterthought when it comes to this.
So no, this is a very specific construction roadblock that is making this a problem. I would be happy to try to reconfigure, you know, what we're trying to implement. Maybe in spring, we could reevaluate and take Route 8 up to Palm as an alternate. The issue is really,
Still a long ways away from here. Anyway, I'm sorry.
well, we could directly connect to the streetcar or possibly get, you know, Palm is 2 blocks north of here, so that might be a better solution. The main issue is if we come any closer to this facility, because that roundabout is closed, we cannot get back to Channel Side.
Right.
And that's the real problem that we're trying to address here. So instead of eliminating this whole south of downtown by going to Palm Avenue from the east, we are trying to get as close as we can while avoiding that construction to not disrupt the route too much, but I totally hear your concern, and it's 100% valid. I think one of the best solutions might be for us to go to Palm and connect with the streetcar station so that you have that connection. But if we go any further than 19th with this route, then we're gonna have to probably sacrifice any bus connection to downtown. And given that the Route 9 is avoiding that part of downtown already, that would mean that we don't have any bus service south of the Selman Expressway in Channelside or that part of downtown. So it's a bit of a dance we're doing to try to keep some service down there and not abandon the whole section of town. But the sacrifice is the connectivity in Ybor City, and you're totally correct. I just give you a little insight about how we came to this conclusion.
So, and you mentioned something about the 360 and the Brandon Mall bus stop. I'm not sure, was that just related to the 360, or is there something going on with the Brandon Mall bus stop generally?
It's really just fixing some of the labeling in our software to make sure that it's labeled correctly as it travels very close to the mall but does not go all the way in. We're basically on Gornto Lake. But this is not a route that goes into the mall completely. Several years ago, that changed.
Okay, so there's not a problem with the Brandon Mall bus stop. It's just the 360 is.
It's getting
okay.
Yeah, it's getting closer than it currently does, but it's not actually going in all the way to the mall like the rest of those routes do. But it's getting closer than it was in the previous markup.
Good.
Okay.
I think we have a question online, Ms. McGill.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much for sharing this information. For the route changes and potential bus stop, relocations and such, what's protocol for, or I should say this, are individuals who typically would have qualified for paratransit going to be impacted by this because now the radius has changed based on removal of some of the actual bus stops or the change in the routes?
No, this does not impacting any of our paratransit service area or eligibility for that matter.
Okay, perfect. So all of the changes that you've actually described earlier wouldn't be impacting any person's eligibility?
No.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
What do you mean?
It's Diane Luce. I just wanted to make the comment that the eligibility for paratransit isn't based on where someone lives. It's based on their ability to access the public fixed route bus wherever that is. So it's based on disability, in short. So a service change shouldn't affect anybody's eligibility.
Correct. It is within 1.5 miles of our bus fixed route.
Yeah, that's whether or not someone can access the service once they're made eligible, but it's kind of two separate concerns. So eligibility is disability-based. Whether or not someone can access the system based on where they live with the 1.5 mile rule from there is separate. So
Well, one of the qualifications but you have to live within the quarter mile from a bus stop. That is one of the requirements.
This is Maddie. I have a question or comment.
Go ahead.
Diane, thank you for sharing that. I guess I want to just more of a quick clarification question. I think I know. Absolutely, the eligibility of someone to be able to get door-to-door service for paratransit is based on disability. I don't think they have to live within 1.5 miles of the bus stop. They have to be able to get to the bus stop. So, for example, if an individual that has a disability lives outside of the service area, say they live 2 miles away from the bus stop, they're still eligible to qualify for door-to-door if someone can drive them to within 1.5 miles. Is that correct?
exactly.
If they can get a ride there.
Correct,
But
so they don't
they
have to
can't.
live within 1.5 miles.
Yeah, but they can't, and they need to be able to get to that bus stop on their own.
Correct, so it's the words we use, making sure we say that they are eligible and they can get to the bus stop, not that they have to live within a mile and a half.
Right.
Okay.
And once they're out of the mile and a half, they also might be able to qualify for Sunshine Line, who provides services outside of our area. But yes, you are correct, they would still qualify because it's based on their disability.
Thank you.
Ms. Jackie, yeah?
Thank you, Chair Jenkins. I just want to say thank you, Justin, Mr. Willis, and for the presentation. This was a conversation we had last meeting, and within the short period of time, you've been able to come back and talk about all of the changes that are taking place. And I think it's so important for us as a board to know those changes and give feedback prior to them already being a process that we get from another means. So thank you for the information, and as you can see, this is a very volatile subject, and there's always feedback. So thank you very much.
Yeah, you're welcome, thank you.
Thank you,
Are
Chair.
there any other questions? I have one. Have you already notified the public of these changes?
Yeah, yes, we have. The bus stop elimination signage goes up 10 days in advance, as well, but the changes have been pushed out.
So, and that's for me to be led by, you said 8 will be going from 19 to what?
So, instead of traveling 4th all the way to Nuccio, it will be traveling 4th to 19th to Adamo to, Channel Side.
And then you're gonna what you mean, you're gonna be making a left on 19, all right.
Correct. Coming into town, it will be taking a left onto 19th and a right on Adamo, and then a left on Channel Side.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Thank you.
Question we were thinking, the reports.
Yours. Chair's report first.
No, you,
You go first. It's your report.
right. So it's my report now. So, Mr. Whitney is like,
Brian?
the bus stop, shelter guy.
Oh, Dwayne. It's not his turn yet.
Did you want to move? You wanted to move forward in the
bus
agenda,
stop guy.
committee chair?
Come on, wait a minute.
Okay.
I have a comment for you.
Oh, he has a comment for you, Mr.
You come up a little bit, or you hear me clear?
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Dwayne Brown. I'm the Basic Transit Infrastructure Program Manager for the record. Yes, sir.
Mr. Wayne,
Yes, sir.
the last meeting that we had, you was gonna go out to the bus stop and look at the bus stop. On just the Walter Boulevard about the lighting.
Yes.
It has not been after you changed the color, but the lighting is still dark.
Okay. So I spoke with our transit, with our crews that do route maintenance, Mr. Jeff Campbell, and we spoke at length about the situation with that particular shelter. That's the one that's right on off of
Jim
Boy Scout,
Walter.
right, yeah.
Jim Walter Boulevard.
And Jim Walters and Boy Scout, yes, sir. And we talked about it. He went out and he replaced the lighting. It's a very old system. He said he went out and replaced it, the lighting on it, and it was functioning. However, he's saying that it's not functioning. So I will have another discussion with him for them to ensure that lighting gets corrected.
You can let him know that I'm there every day.
Yes, sir.
I'm there every day.
Yes, sir.
And when I get picked up to go home, I drive by that thing every day. And it's dark. No one can see a person under that shelter. So we need to change that lighting. Because if we know that it gets dark early now, it gets dark at 6 o'clock.
Yes.
So we need to do something about that lighting.
Yes, sir. So, what what we want to do, that particular bus stop, it was purchased for us by a developer, and that's why it's painted blue. It was, when they was developing, I think it's the Nationwide Insurance Company or something like that, they purchased that shelter for us, and it's an older shelter. We would like to remove it, but we have to make sure we coordinate with them before we get it removed and put in a new shelter there.
So what you telling me is that they bought the same kind of shelter but different color?
Say again, sir, I'm sorry.
What are you telling me now is that they bought a new shelter that looked like an old shelter?
No, they purchased that shelter a while back, but it was purchased for HART by the developer. So we want to make sure that because they had it specially painted for their particular for their company and in their shade of blue, and so we have to make sure that we get that coordinated before we can get a new shelter in. The fix to the issue that you're having is that we have the brand new shelters what we purchased, and they have a new system in it that allows for us to be able to correct that and have a much brighter lighting on it. It's just that we have to make sure that before we change out shelters and do that, we have to coordinate and make sure that is the right, that we can do that as far as with the agreement that we have with the developer.
Okay, well, we need to get that light. That thing is way too dark for me to be sitting under there like that. I may not be able to get the R plus, and when I want to go home early, I can get that bus to go home. But if that bus passes me again, it's gonna be far.
Okay. Well, I will have a conversation with Jeff again. We thought the situation was resolved like that day when the same day when you asked for it. He said that he went out and he changed the light. But if there's another issue with the light, maybe there's an issue with the timing of when the light comes on.
What I think it is, the light is that too little. It needs to be like something that's bright. You need something that's bright that the driver can see a wheelchair sitting in there.
Yes, sir.
The driver cannot so you cannot blame the driver.
Yes, sir. So we'll get this issue resolved.
And then on the other bus stop that way about on Martin Luther King, where they had that piece of wood there,
Yes, sir.
all they did was move it. All they did was drag it off the sidewalk and left it there. That piece of wood needs to be removed permanently because you got these kids going out of school playing around with that piece of wood and they're gonna put it right back there again.
Yes, sir. So we understand that bus stop is an issue. At the present, that box, there's a planter box that was there. It was originally placed by Boston Market, and it's on their private property, and it's owned by Boston Market. Us, as a HART cannot remove their property. We can ask them. I've been out there 3 times and asked them to fix it. The route crew has been out there several times asking them to fix it. We try to move it and we try to do as much as we can, but it's still their property.
So a piece of wood, we can't move a piece of wood because it's their property.
Yes, it's a planter box that is there.
So if somebody come by and walk on that piece of wood, who's gonna be liable? They are?
That is I'm not a legal expert, but I would assume that if that's their property on their property, that they would be responsible for that.
I will have a conversation with them myself. Thank you.
And if I may, Chair, I will definitely follow up with our Director of Facilities and look into both of those issues myself. So.
Thank you. And thank you. Now, with the hot blood van, we got all these vans sitting in the yard. And when they come to pick us up, you got the radio, the little, what they call it, the together on the box, that's out. You got the phone out. The driver got to use a handheld remote to communicate with the dispatchers. Everything. How many times do we have to come in here to keep picking it up. We need new vans. We got all this money in the county. I was at the meeting yesterday. We have money to purchase these new vans, but we need to also purchase new equipment on the van. Those equipment are out of date. No longer and they need to get these drivers some they can let a computers, no Apple computers, like they do in Miami, they do in Orlando. We the only one that using the old system. We need to get some new equipment for the vans. That's why the drivers have to go from one end to the other end and go back and go forward. And we all getting late pickups because we are under the old system. If we get new system, it can help the drivers figure out, well, let me go on this avenue before I go all the way over here. The driver had to pick me up the other day from Ybor, and I had to go all the way to Brandon to come back the way I was going. It doesn't make any sense. You wasting gas, you wasting time. People are complaining about on time performance. But if you have a good system that will tell the driver that they can stay in one area, so you won't be going all back and forth like that. You know what I mean? Look at AZ licking on my arm. I'm wet on my AZ. I mean, what do you want to do? And I do realize that some drivers at heart are tearing these vehicles up by the way they drive these vehicles. You need to let the driver know that it is not their vehicle. It is a company vehicle. Do not tear your vehicle up because they do that because it's not their vehicle. So people, I get on the van, the guy doing 80 miles an hour. What? You got a whiskey in the back. You need to slow down. And then when you get the new drivers out of the class, they need to be retrained again with the requirement of locking the whiskey down. I had a guy, a new driver, was putting on my seatbelt. And telling him and taking his seatbelt loose and bringing it down the way you're supposed to do it. He put it on my neck like it's a dog collar. I'm like, oh my God. I had to train him to take it off because it's on my neck. If you show him, you're gonna show. So I had to take it off and show him one by one. Take this far down, bring it over and down. I mean, who are training these drivers? You got other drivers that train drivers, and they sitting on the phone while they training. I've been in the van when one driver is training another driver. The training is on the phone and not telling him how to do this correct. If you're going to train a driver, train him the way you were trained. You wasn't trained that way. So you're putting people's life in danger. And you got people driving, making U-turn, illegal U-turns. I mean, what's going on? We need to get these drivers together. Because when I get picked up, I'm gonna let the driver know, look, I ain't gonna lie like that. It goes this way. this the way it's supposed to go. Oh, okay, good. I just want to bring that out. And that's it, what I have. That's it, I got, thank you.
Can I jump in? Can I jump in? I wanted to thank you for bringing these items up, Mr. Jenkins. I don't have a lot of information right now, and I don't know if somebody in here does, but did want to give you a heads up that we are looking at a new CAT AVL system, so a whole new radio system for our paratransit. The process is just starting. We already started it for the buses, but we are starting a new system. We hear you, we hear our operators, we hear our controllers. We do have some issues with our control and our radios and the phone systems that sometimes the sound comes in and out, and it's a little bit difficult for them. The operators have done an excellent job at calling every so often, or if their trips go in and out, to communicate with the controllers. So we are trying to work that the best possible right now, but it's great to say that we actually did start the process, so it's not something wannabe in the future. We actually had one of our first meetings, I believe last week, if not the week before, where we're looking at software for the paratransit program and the radio system. And I believe also we're working into integrating our radios with the City of Tampa radios. I don't even know if I should be saying that, but I don't know if somebody in here has a little more info, but we can bring you back some more info on what the update are on the software and our plans to upgrade our systems. Or we can bring it up in one of the next couple of meetings if you like.
That'd be good, because that's gonna help the driver determine which one to go get first. And it also gonna help the driver with the on-time performance that you guys need. And the patient won't be late, hour late getting picked up.
Yeah.
Hours and hours of being late on the van.
Yes.
Lying on the van for an hour, for what? It doesn't make any sense. I mean, when before we got where y'all got, the Mr. David used to have training with the drivers.
Yes.
And he would bring us in as the trainees because we don't want to ride the van.
Yes. And I was gonna go to that as well. So we do have our manager of bus operations has graciously is helping us over the training department. He has a great background in training, and he's revamping a lot of the training. Brian, I don't know if you want to jump in, but he is revamping our quarterly service training, and I think I'll let Brian, we were going to have him talk about it in a minute, but I think I'll let you jump in and just an overview of what your plans are for the new training.
Before you do that, let me say this too.
Yes.
When we get a wheelchair on the van, you need to remove the lock off the floor. Because we are lying on top of the locks, and it's gonna bust our tires.
Yes.
Because they don't, all you gotta do is take it off the floor, let us get in, and then put it back. Don't leave it down there because every wheelchair is different. Some wheelchair bigger than others, some wheelchair are smaller. But when we get on the lift, we are backing up on the van. Our back wheel is right on top of the locks,
Yeah.
and it's gonna bust our tires.
Yeah, we definitely don't want to damage your equipment. So Brian has some new changes where he's going to add some ADA component to some of the training. But I've made note of that to make sure that we include that in our training and send them a reminder as well, because I believe you brought that up in the past. So in the meantime, we can send them a reminder as well of removing those locks.
And when we get our drivers, they got a bomb coming. Or you can't drive a wheelchair. I've been in a wheelchair almost 48 years. I know how to drive a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Good
afternoon.
Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm Brian Abrams, Manager of Bus Operations and Training. Yes, Kemley's right. We are reimagining our training programs. This month and next month, we're focusing primarily on ADA, securement, and the equipment in the vehicles. For the bus operators, we'll start this month, and next month will be the paratransit van operators. So we're going to have some more focused training on a lot of these topics. They do take longer to teach, a lot more hands-on. We get into the vehicles, try different mobility devices and the different equipment that we have. So that's starting right now.
You can always call me. I'll come down and help you train
Most definitely.
them. Yeah.
And in the same spirit of this conversation, we are adding 14 brand-new buses to our bus fleet. And with those buses, we're having new technology installed for securement. It's called the Q-Strength Quantum. And we have some videos here that we're gonna present to you on how the system works. These buses have been rolling out to the road right now.
Any volume?
Yeah, we're gonna restart it.
Improve our products, trying to come up with new products. So research and development has always been at the heart of what we do, you know, trying to improve our products, trying to come up with new products. And really the goal is to maximize safety for the wheelchair passengers. I'm Patrick Gerardin. I'm Director of Product and Marketing here at Q-Strength. We've been around for over 30 years, and the only thing we do is wheelchair securement. In the last 30 years, there's been a lot of evolution in the products themselves. The main part of our products have been those 4-point tie downs, and the principles have stayed the same, but the technology has changed. We've moved to more retractor-based systems. The easier you can make a product to use, the more likely that it's going to be used effectively. So the idea of the Quantum is the next evolution for our products. You know, independent securement. In the past, wheelchair passengers would have to rely on the driver, trying to figure out what equipment was being used in that bus, moving around a wheelchair, scratching the wheelchair, trying to find position for hooks. Oftentimes, standing passengers would exit a bus knowing wheelchair securement was going to take a long time. Quantum's effectively taken it from several minutes and an unknown variables to something you can secure in less than 25 seconds.
Public transportation for the disabled community, we give them the independence that they're looking for. You know, they want to be just a regular customer. So with the Quantum, they board quickly, they secure themselves quickly without the aid of an operator, which makes it very, very easy and comfortable for them. The fact that they don't have to have an operator getting into their space is how they put it to me. Quantum lets them have that dignity where they can do it all themselves.
For the first time ever, a wheelchair passenger now gets on the bus just like everybody else, gets into position, secures themselves quickly, and gets on with their journey. One of the main factors right there is wheelchair passenger independence.
I don't only believe that Quantum is going to be a game changer, it's already a game changer. Keep in mind, if you get into a situation, panic stop, hard turn, you know, whatever it could be, I don't have to worry about somebody falling out or rolling over in their chair. When the Quantum is set, it's not going anywhere.
Since its launch, Quantum's been very well received. Properties have been excited, and not just in North America, but in Europe and in Australia. There's been a lot of momentum on the acceptance for the idea of Quantum. Most countries have laws that call for equal rights to wheelchair passengers. And for the first time ever, we believe that we have a product that not only meets the letter of those laws, but it meets the spirit of those laws, bringing independence back to wheelchair passengers.
That look good. It look good, but I like to try it out first.
Yeah, I'm excited for that. So it's safer, it's quicker, a lot more independence, and we're not the first ones. This product has been in the industry for over 7 years. Manatee County Area Transit, Palm Tran and West Palm Beach have it in their fleets. Disney is actually trying it out in their fleet, and hopefully their entire fleet. So this is something that's been tried, tested, and is true. Operators have been going through training. They enjoy it. We've already had some riders use it with some great feedback. The only difference in this is that the rider will be going backwards. And the reason for that is to allow for a safer ride. In the case for an abrupt break or something of that sort, the force pushes you back against the rest. So we have a video to show concerning the rear-facing portion on how one user who wasn't so much for it, but now they are much for this system and will really only use this system. So we're gonna play the video now.
So you tried the Quantum today?
I have used the Quantum today, and I like it very much.
Did you always like it, or?
Now, when it was first brought up to me, I was very much against it.
Why?
I didn't like the idea of facing other passengers. You know, that really bothered me. When I look at my whole bus riding history, and I think about how inconsistent the bus drivers are, just because of the number of bus drivers. I like the idea of the Quantum because it will always be the same and it will always be secure.
So what made you change your mind? Like what specifically made you go from not liking it to like?
I like the idea of being very secure. I also thought about the people looking at me, and most people on the bus are looking at their phones. They're not looking at straight ahead. It doesn't matter who the driver is, or you know where he's going, or how fast he's going. Or I will always be secure, and to me that's really important.
So if you were to get on a bus that had a Quantum and a old Q-Pod system, what would you prefer?
I would definitely go for the Quantum.
Every single time?
Every time, yes.
And it's consistent every single time?
Yes.
With the touch of a button?
Touch of the button. You don't even have to push it, just touch it.
Okay, now, okay. The Quantum, it goes on, it connect on the wheel?
Correct. An arm comes down and it squeezes against the bottom portion of your device.
They're not gonna mess the wheel up?
No. This has been tested. There's plenty of data, and it's been in the system, the industry, for over 7 years, and there's no damage. It's a gentle squeeze, but it's a good enough squeeze for security and safety.
The reason I asked that question, my shit cost me $20,000. I want to make sure it is messed up.
Q-Strain is the designer of the majority of our securement systems in our vehicles, so they're well versed and well aware of mobility devices and the diversity in them and the sensitivity of them.
Okay.
Okay? And all of our buses have 2 wheelchair securement sections, and the new buses will have 1 Quantum, which is the automated, and 1 Q-Pod, so one will only be rear-facing and automatic, the other one will be the standard.
Let me know when I come check it out.
Most definitely, we'll set something up. Any questions?
Ms. Vazorek had a question. Maddie.
Go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to say thank you for that presentation and answering those questions, and you answered my question. I was going to see, is there an option if someone's not willing to use the Quantum? Is there that Q-Pod? And you answered that for me. Thank you. On the training side, I did want to ask something I think that we mentioned previously was having a more of a disability awareness kind of like module or something in that training where new HART employees, whether they're working with people with disabilities or not, just have more knowledge and awareness of how to work with people with disabilities. I just wanted to recommend and maybe just suggest if one of those things could be even person-first language. So talking to someone and calling them an individual with a disability versus saying a disabled person. Even in and this is no offense to Q-Strain or anything, but even in that video they used, the disabled community. So I think just something small and thinking about the language we use when you're thinking about training, I just wanted to make that recommendation.
Thank you. And about 2 hours ago, I added a slide to the training that's getting ready to start, person-first language.
Beautiful.
And
Thank
it's
you.
not new. We've had that in our training for years.
Yes.
As well as all types of disabilities, accessibilities. It's more about the spirit than it is the regulations.
Yes. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I just got a question about a camp online.
Actually, I had my hand raised from a minute ago when we were talking about that planter that is
Okay.
possibly an obstruction. I just want to throw out, if it actually is in the right-of-way, possibly the county or the city might be able to address it from that perspective, if it's actually intruding in the clear path of the right-of-way of that sidewalk. So if people could just let us, Carmen and I, know where the location is, we might, if it's county or city area, we might be able to address it from that perspective. And, thank you, Brian, for the information. I know from back in the USF days, you've always been very diligent about safety and security, securement processes for passengers with different types of mobility equipment, so I appreciate your diligence. Companies tout all of the time that their products are wonderful and acceptable and fantastic, and it works really well, but, hearing boots on the ground, what the community members are reporting back in regards to the use of these new devices would be really interesting to keep a very close pulse on, just in case there are any concerns. And thank you.
Thank you, thank you. Please lower your hand. Thank you. Are there any other questions?
I do.
Mary?
So on the topic of training, we talk about people first language. One of the things that I believe is very absent from HART training are the people who that training really affects. There's a saying in the disabled community that says nothing about us without us. I don't want to jump on public comments, but are we going to have public comments? Because there's a public comment that I think needs to be heard that kind of underscores my concern about HART's commitment to accessibility in the disabled community. And I think we need to have that public comment.
Public comments at the end.
All right. We'll get to that at the end. Let me get through this agenda.
Okay. Then I want to be able to comment after the comment.
You will.
Okay.
Thank you. One more thing I want to say on my point is,
And the point I was trying to make is that disabled people aren't doing this training.
yeah,
So able-bodied people are talking about us, and that's ableism at its worst. So I just want to say
I
that.
would like to comment on that. HART training has and continues to include, and as we continue to reimagine it, we'll do even more. But we do invite Lighthouse for the Blind to come in on new hire training. We do tours of McDonald Training Center. We do have riders come in to share their experience. Southeastern Guide Dogs do come to our trainings. This has been part of our curriculum, especially the new hire. But as we do our reimagining of continual training, we'll look at that as well.
And I want to say, that's all well and good, but Southeastern Guide Dogs does not represent the disabled community. The Lighthouse for the Blind doesn't represent the disabled community. This body represents the disabled community, and this body is woefully kept in the dark about what HART is doing when it comes to disability rights. And I'm sorry, but the training is obviously not very effective the way we're being treated out on the street.
well, I'll be at the next meeting. Thank you, sir. What I want to say is, when we have a person at the base, if there's someone already on the van, they don't want that person on the van.
Yes.
So, what are they supposed to do?
We have had, unfortunately, a couple of instances where a van is going on the base and we have an individual so the base does instruct us to let that individual off. We try our best. Right now, that's a manual process, so the schedulers have to remember. And unfortunately, it's happened, I believe, once this year. It might have happened a couple of times, but at least it's happened once this year when the vehicle is entering MacDill Air Force Base, that we have an individual that's not allowed to be on base. When that does happen, they stay I believe at the visitor center, or there's a stop there where they stop, they wait for the vehicle and they come back on. But we do try to avoid that at all costs. When it does happen, we are very apologetic. It's just, right now it's a manual system. We're hoping our new software we can have something where we avoid that automatically, but unfortunately it did happen.
Because I was there the other day, and luckily the guy didn't say anything.
Okay,
But if we would have, I would have had to get out the van
yes,
and waited in the rain.
okay. And I'll get that date if you want from you at the end of the meeting, and we'll look and see what
Yeah,
happened.
that was yesterday.
Yesterday?
Yeah.
Okay, I'll look into that.
Okay. Is there any other questions? Any other comment?
I have one comment. Is it possible to hold questions so we can move through more of the agenda since it is 2:30? Is it like just to hold maybe some of those questions for the end?
Yes, she's asking if we can do the comments at the end, and if we can move forward with the next presentation, and then when we do roundtable, each member can bring up the items they want to bring up.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we got,
Mr. Brown.
we got basic training. The basic.
Basic transit infrastructure update with Mr. Brown.
Dwayne Brown, like a big hand.
We see you back there.
We love you up here. Come on, like up here.
Good afternoon, everybody. I'm sorry. Can you hear me now? Okay. I'm Dwayne Brown, the Basic Transit Infrastructure Program Manager here with HART, and I'm going to be giving you guys an BTI update. And it's more of a year in review, so we're going to go over the projects that we completed over FY23. So we had we had 13 projects that went into engineering and design. We did we completed seven construction projects, and we put up 46 new shelters. So that's just a quick overview. The 7 projects that we completed were Spruce at Clark, 34th at Lake, Falkenberg Road at Martin Luther King. We did Rolette Park Drive at Mulberry Street, Himes at Humphreys, Himes Avenue at Humphrey Street, and Tampa Bay Boulevard at the ACC Community College there. And we did a project at Nebraska at Florida, Nebraska. Those were the projects that we completed this year in FY23. All of them were the Tampa Bay HCC one. The Tampa Bay Boulevard HCC was a fairly big one where we extended that bus bay there. I think Mr. Jenkins commented about that at one point, but we did get that bus bay extended there. The projects that we have right now in permitting as Columbus Drive at Florida, and then Armenia at Waters. As of yesterday, that project started, and so we are fixing those 2 bus stops at on the north side of Armenia at Waters. So that project is on the way. And then we have 4 projects in design: 21st Avenue at 43rd Street, 21st Avenue at 40th, Memorial Highway at George Road, and Manhattan Boulevard at Oklahoma Avenue. And so those ones are upcoming, and as soon as we can get those out of design, we'll have them into permitting, and we'll be ready to start on those. The shelters over the past year, right now the 69 shelters that we purchased, we have installed 55 of them, and we're continuing to work to get those new shelters out. I recently just purchased 16 additional shelters, so those should be coming within the next, I think it's a 12-week timeline for us to get them, but those should be coming in. And so we are continually trying to get more of the new stuff out. We also are preparing to do a solicitation for new technology to go out to bus stops. That should be out on the street probably within the next couple of weeks. So we're continually trying to make improvements at bus stops and make it easier for everyone. All right, any questions?
I'll let you go this time. You did good.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Now we got the HART Plus and Customer Choice volunteer program update. Let's go again.
Thank you, Mr. Jenkins. Today, as part of my presentation, we did ask Mr. Brendan Love with Yellow Cab to do a presentation. So I'm going to go ahead and give our usual stats and numbers that we give, and he will follow with his presentation. And if you can hold all questions to after his presentation, he might answer some of those questions throughout his presentation. So for HART Plus for September, we had a total trip scheduled of 19,976. Our scheduled on-time performance was 79%, and for appointment trips, it was 92% on-time performance. October 23rd, we scheduled 21,694 trips. Of those, our scheduled time was, on-time performance was 84%. Our appointment time on-time performance was 96%. And that was for HART Plus. For Yellow Cab in September of this year, we completed 3,076 trips with a 96 on-time performance, 96%, I'm sorry. And for October, they completed 3,257 trips with a 97% on-time performance. And I now inviting Mr. Brendan Love to, he has a presentation that was requested by Mr. Jenkins, an overview of his services that are provided by Yellow Cab. Welcome.
Thank you. Good afternoon, everybody. And Mr. Chairman, excuse me, I'm recovering from a cold, but I'm going to do my best here today. My name is Brendan Love. I'm Operations Manager at Yellow Cab. The first thing I want to say is that this program would not be successful without the individual and collective contributions from everybody at HART and at Yellow Cab. And I really need to thank all my colleagues today, because this partnership that we have with you and with all our people has really yielded the results that we're having. So the third quarter was very busy and a very productive quarter. We completed 10,110 trips, as Ms. Green alluded to. She detailed the individual months. Of those, 1,481 were sent to us directly by HART under the Manifest program, which, as you're all aware, earlier in the year, we began a pilot program under which HART would offload some of their volume to Yellow Cab. And while we had a slow take-up initially, it's now running at approximately 85 to 90 trips a day, with plans to increase in the near future. The most surprising and encouraging thing we've seen is HART Plus riders, having had a good experience with Yellow Cab, are now calling Yellow Cab directly. So there's a conversion happening there, and the ridership has increased dramatically. October was actually double that of September, to give you some guidance of the success of the program. So it was 5,000 or 6,000 trips that we completed in October. So we're absorbing more and more volume, which is the goal, and we're very pleased. I know the customers are satisfied. I think I want to just jump to this one. Over this period, HART recorded 25 valid complaints, which is a 0.24% grievance rate. You know, I want to touch on culture, because I know it's a buzzword and people are probably tired of hearing it as I am. But for us, it means what happens when we're not in the room or in the vehicle. And it's like anything. You can't pay people to care. But it takes a little time to work out who the all-stars are, who are the ones that need a little bit of rehabilitation, maybe some time in the sin bin. And, you know, it's simple things. It's like we had a gentleman who would be so focused on on-time performance that he'd get out the vehicle and sprint towards the customer. And the customer is left feeling very threatened. So there's small nuances. It's like using an umbrella when it's raining, the air temperature in the cabin, the choice of music. or if, if the customer wants it at all. And then there are the others who need to simply leave the team altogether. So we've been doing a lot of that. And I think the results speak for themselves. The most important thing is that we just need all of our people to have empathy. One thing I wanted to touch on is that there are some people that some of the patrons have been upset about negotiating pickup times. And everybody wants to get picked up at 10 a.m., okay? And we're trying to be respectful of everyone's obligations and appointments, but we are forced to negotiate pickup times, and we ask that patrons please be cooperative in this regard. If your appointment is of a social nature, shopping, the library, please allow us to pick you up a little bit earlier or later than you initially anticipated to allow us to accommodate everybody. We're not saying some people's time is less important than others. We're just asking everybody to be cognizant of the strain on the system. I must say patrons have been accommodating. Again, if we're transparent and if we keep our promise to pick you up at the time we negotiated, it builds trust. No one wants to be left frustrated by a late pickup, but we're trying, help us to help you, I think is what I'm trying to say. And on that note, please, we also ask that patrons respect the 2-bag limit, especially with the groceries. There have been scenarios where other patrons are upset with sharing rides because customers are being delayed with, adding a whole cart of groceries, et cetera, et cetera. There was a gentleman this week who thought we could transport a 65-inch TV in a Toyota Prius, but we can't do that either, Uber, our partnership with Uber is yielding fantastic results, and it's beyond our expectations. We're integrating our dispatch system further now to reduce wait times for the patrons. As we have more data in the system will give an early warning sign to the dispatchers of trips that are potentially going to run late, and we can act quicker to improve on-time performance. We met with Ms. Pancho on September 7. She'd previously raised in this committee the incidents of our people refusing service animals. I know she mentioned this again, and I know she was canvassing the community on this issue, but there have yet to be any specifics on that. I did promise her that we would take action. We would terminate the driver. We have zero tolerance for that. It's against the law. So we've opened dialogue with her, and we look forward to working with her and her office if we receive any specifics on that. As far as I know, and Ms. Green will probably confirm, we have not had an incident of this nature reported to HART or ourselves in almost 4 years. As to the future, for a long time, customers have been asking us for a way to book the trips online or via a mobile phone. So we're finalizing an online portal now. It's still subject to approval by Mr. Edwards and his team, but all going well, the customers should be able to make online reservations from January 1. They'll be able to make them via the website and also via their phones. It's not an app, but it's a website that's designed for a phone, Android and iPhone. And I think that will allow us to reduce the waiting times for the customers when they call in on the reservations to the customer service department. And I think it will bring a lot more convenience for the patrons. So another thing we're doing technology-wise is we're sending text the day before service to let patrons know that their ride will be with Yellow Cab if they originally set it with HART Plus. It provides some clarity for customers. They know what vehicle to expect. We're testing on-the-way text. We've had some mixed responses on that. Also for will call activations, we're testing whether customers would prefer to have a line that they could just text saying, I'm ready, or a trigger word that will allow the system to automatically dispatch it and not have them to call into our call center. We've hired a field service supervisor, Jim Schrank. This gentleman's been involved in safety training and wheelchair securement and non-emergency transportation for over 30 years. So he's out there across Hillsborough, popping up randomly on our people, making sure the wheelchairs are secured properly, the ambulatory customers are wearing their seat belts, and just generally ensuring that customer services standards are maintained. And from our side, I think that covers it. I don't want to run on too long, but if anybody's got any questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Go ahead, man.
So am I on? Yeah, there we are. So I want to address the issue of the service animals because I was the one who brought up the concern. In October of 2022, I was at the Amtrak station and I called in for a cab on my way home from a convention and was asked by the person answering the phone if I was going to be taking my service dog. That means to me that there's something in my record that says I have a service dog. And it makes me wonder if those times when I have waited 2.5, 3 hours for a cab was because the cab driver didn't want to take a service dog because they knew I had a dog. That's happened before to me, and that a driver came all the way from North Tampa to Brandon to pick me up at 1 o'clock in the morning because I was done with a music gig, and he knew it was me because they were saying, anybody want to pick somebody up with a service dog? So my concern is that we're flagged. Now, further evidence of the fact that we're flagged is that when you do dispatch a Lyft, or an Uber, it's an Uber pet. Why is it an Uber pet? That's the question. See, so those raise red flags for me that say something's going on, that I must be flagged in the system, and that flag can lead to me being discriminated against because I get an unequal benefit because I'm waiting a long time for a cab.
Absolutely, and I understand where you're coming from. So I can't speak to what happened in October 22, but what I will say to you is that the HART client files are not flagged at all. I will give you that absolute assurance. What happened on those 2 occasions where you were sent an Uber pet is my responsibility because I sit in the dispatch center. I work from the dispatch center. Okay, thank you. And for your convenience, and because I know you and Ms. Schock, I was the one that did it myself for your convenience. And I did convey this to Ms. Green as well. So if anybody's to blame for that, it's because I'm aware of both you and Ms. Schock. So that's what happened on those 2 occasions. I can't speak to what happened in October 22. But for these last 2, and you mentioned you waited 2-3 hours. Is this recent, sir, or are you talking about some time ago? Because
Maybe 6 months ago, I was at a doctor's appointment.
6 months ago, okay. Well, I'll investigate that too. I don't think I was aware of that, Ms. Green. I don't know if you are.
I wouldn't remember the specific complaint, but normally if we have it in the system, you
Yeah.
will get a copy and we would investigate
Yeah,
each
so we'll look
instance
into
as we
that too,
receive it.
yeah.
Any other questions? Go ahead.
Yeah, hi, this is Diane Luce. Hi there. You mentioned that the ability to make reservations online will be available starting January 1st. Can you give us reassurance that the online system will be accessible to screen readers, people who don't use?
Yes, we're in the final stages of all of that, so it should be soon, but absolutely it will be fully compliant with your, with screen readers.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, excellent. And then I guess this is more of just a comment. I work for Lighthouse for the Blind and Low Vision, and so and I'm an orientation and mobility specialist. So I'm working with people on navigating the environment and accessing transportation and getting to where they need to go daily. one of the, and I don't solicit feedback generally from my clients, but they share a lot of things with me. So one of the complaints that I've heard recently more than once from different people are concerns that Yellow Cab doesn't always pick up, like that there've been no-shows. So I don't have firsthand, I wasn't there, I'm just hearing stories, but I just wanted you to know that that's something that I'm new to the committee, that's just something that coming in is a concern of mine, just to monitor, just want to know about. I did see your statistics about complaints. On that slide, I just wanted to know the percentages that you indicated, are they coming from complaints that are coming just to you, directly to you, or through HART and directly to Yellow Cab?
They come down, these statistics are from C-Click Fix. They come through the HART, directly to HART.
Okay.
And our agreement with HART is that if a customer lays a complaint with us, we'd ask them to please call HART and follow that grievance process too.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay.
so that we have, full transparency with the client, with HART.
Okay, good. I am advising, when I hear something like this from an individual, I'm advising them to call HART, to log a complaint,
That's
so that we can, take that data and do better things with it. So I'm not looking for explanation today, but it's just something I'm going to be monitoring.
No, and I welcome that. Thank you.
Okay.
Thank you.
We got Ms. Bucky online.
I believe
Thank
Committee
you.
Member Poncho, yeah.
Oh, I apologize. Oh, Arizona, did you call on me?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So kind of piggybacking on Diane's recommendation or request to make sure it was accessible, I have found that sometimes the technology companies will tout that they're actually accessible, but it's not until people who use the screen reading programs and adaptive software actually test it out that you can actually have some good confirmation that it actually works. So that would be my recommendation, is it's not necessarily rely on the company that's selling you the product, but actually have some people testing it out before it's actually launched.
That's a good idea. Thank you. We'll definitely do that.
Yeah. And I also just want to reiterate, typically when Brendan and I have spoken, he has always been very appreciative of me being able to share the comments, but he usually asks for me to provide some details, for example, dates, times, locations, so that he can then go back and research the concerns that I'm raising to him. And so when we're working with our community members, solidifying and obtaining some of those details will be very helpful, not only for Yellow Cab, but also for HART as well.
I want to say two things. Number one, thank you for the help with one of our clients at the mall. We had a client at the mall who got left by HART because they didn't know what side he was on. He had visually impaired. So he got dropped off on one side, but got supposed to get business on the other side. So luckily I was there and call you guys, and you had no vehicle available. And so I said, well, what this guy supposed to do? He's blind. I gotta go home. So he called Uber, and the Uber came out, and it was a regular car. The young girl was very kind to him, and I told her to grab him by the arm while he's visually impaired. They have him down the girl into the car. They did a good job with that. So the more Uber get involved in also they're also being trained as a provider service. Because Uber is individual people with their own cars. And they may not know how to deal with disability. So So they're being trained as well. It's good. And my last comment is we can do the app on make the trip online. It is about to tell you that it's a hotline that you're gonna be using the hard voucher. Okay. Is that on the app as well?
Yeah, yes, I think, again, we have to finalize this whole, some of the payment options and so on, and that is going to be dependent on, as I said, the discussions with Mr. Edwards and his team. But, you know, there are other options, other things that customers have been asking about, the Move It app and Flamingo and so on. So we have to have a discussion about all of those, but certainly you'd elect, I think you'd have a checkbox and you'd select which payment option you'd follow. And we're hoping that we can get all that integrated. I mean, it might not be on January 1, but it is our intention to make it as flexible and easy for the patrons as possible.
All right, thanks. Last comment, and we got more.
Right now, no. Right now, no, we don't. No, so it's unfortunately, it's cash, or that you can use a credit card or a debit card in the vehicle, if you have a POS, and or the voucher. But we're also allowing, I mean, if customers want to, some of our standing order customers, or customers with subscriptions, we're allowing them to pay in advance. You know, we're doing whatever we can to make it easy.
Go ahead, Boogie, your last comment?
Yes, I have a question about the complaint procedure. This is Maddie. You mentioned that if someone calls you directly that used HART to get to Yellow Cab, that you would reroute them back to HART for the complaint. So you don't take the complaint at all?
We do.
Oh, you do?
We do, but we encourage we're contractually obliged. Our agreement with HART is that all grievances follow this procedure.
Correct.
So that it's handled on the HART side and our side, so there's complete transparency in that regard.
Sure. What happens if someone calls you because they feel like that's all they can do that day? Maybe their anxiety was so high from this experience, they wanted to complain, they called you, they submitted that complaint,
Right.
and it was just maybe too much for them to then call HART to complain. Do you track that complaint, or is that gone?
No, absolutely. It's all entered into one system.
Okay.
But if, in that particular case, we would just, you know, I'd pass it on to Ms. Green or to Ms. Sanchez, and we take it from there.
Thank you. I appreciate the answer. Thank you.
Green, go ahead.
Yes, so to finalize my report, I had a couple of announcements. I first wanted to wish our chair happy birthday. And I wanted to welcome and congratulate Mr. Drainville, who is now our official CEO.
Thank you, thank you.
You whipping me along.
And that's all my report. Thank you.
Thank you. And now we have, the next, our next meeting is February 15th at 1:30. And then again, the public comment. Is there any public comment?
Yes, sir. I believe our first person who was signed up was Miss Mary Shock.
We have 3 minutes.
3 minutes, yes, sir.
Do we have the time?
I have a timer, yes,
Thank
sir.
you.
That means I'm going to speak really, really fast. I have not used HART Plus consistently since I've been on FMLA since September 27th. However, I do have a full-time job, and I heard the stats, and with the appointment times, I was, like, okay, so it's 92, 93%. What happens with the 7-8% of us who aren't getting to work on time and meeting those appointment times? Within 2 weeks, I did not, or came very close, if I was a HART employee, to being fired because of many times I had arrived late to work. Okay, so if a HART employee, an operator, is late and they get written up so many times, they're terminated. Well, within 2 weeks, I was very close to being terminated by HART's own standards. one day, and I live 7 miles away from work. I understand it's a shared ride system. I've been doing this since its inception. I live 7 miles away. My arrival time at work was 7:30 in the morning, and I arrived at 5 minutes till 9. Okay? So that, of course, then sparked a call to my county commissioner, who is on the HART Board of Directors. Marion was invited, and I went with him, I'm his wife, to HART for All. And all these wonderful things were said. Well, my truth did not reflect what all these politicians and their aides at this campaign heard about HART Plus, because I had just experienced being late for work 5 times within 2 weeks, and one time being almost an hour and a half. And Kemley and I have spoke about this wait time when you call to cancel an appointment, and then you get a no-show because of this 2-hour wait time, but I wanted to be in public comments because it's important. Individuals who work, who maybe have 2 15-minute breaks during the day and 1 30-minute lunch, cannot get to customer service within 15 minutes to cancel an appointment. So these are things that affect individuals who work, and the on-time performance, the appointment time performances that aren't being met is what it makes happen, is makes us, individuals with disabilities who have a 70% unemployment rate or underemployment rate anyway, look unreliable because HART is not getting us to work on time. So I was very disheartened at the All for HART because the CEO stated that the announcements are being made for those with disabilities. I rode the bus 2 days after that campaign, and the announcements on the bus weren't being made. I've been complaining about this since 1998.
Thank you. Any other comment?
Yes, sir. We also have Lynn Hunt, who wanted to provide public comment.
All right.
Danielle.
Danielle.
Danielle. Which way do I turn? Do I stay here? Goodness. Okay, hi, I'm Lynn Hunt. Hi, Diane. She wanted me to come. Anyway, I do have a couple of comments and a couple of questions. I wanted to ask about the step. This is kind of crazy on the HART Plus van. Those steps are very, very high for anybody who has any kind of walking, or if you have a dog, they're kind of scary. I know on the regular fixed route bus, they have a kneeler. What about if you had a step at the HART Plus van when it's high like that? Because the lift does not work. Please don't put people on the lift, and tell the drivers, please don't do that for people with dogs. That's kind of silly. My second question or comment is, or maybe it's a question, how can we make our ADA cards work more for us? And the reason I ask that is because I came from Ohio. I've been here in Florida 20 years. And I've noticed as I've been here that we've been using these vouchers that tear apart and you can lose them. And what would happen if we had a sticker? You could buy a sticker once a month, or maybe you could buy a 6-month one, I don't know, for so much money. And the same as you buy the voucher, put it on your card. You would show that card to the HART Plus driver, the cab driver, the bus driver, maybe to make it a little easier, and also to make it nicer. I don't know what kind of system you could use for that. They do it in Ohio. I don't know what they do. And the third and fourth thing, I want to talk about the announcements on the bus as well. I have a hearing disability as well as being blind now. And one of the things that I experienced when I have been taking the fixed route twice now is that I cannot hear the streets being named, and the drivers will not call them out. And one driver got really upset with me for asking her for a stop. She said to somebody else, I don't mind helping, but I don't appreciate her asking me to look for side streets. It was not a side street. It was a bus stop there. So I've heard about the treatment. We are not being always treated very nicely out there. I don't know why that is. I think that some people just aren't customer service people. But it affects us because now we don't want to take the fixed route because we're treated weird. We don't want to take HART Plus because the driver might get you angry, whatever. And so those are some of the things I've experienced. The last thing I want to talk about is the Uber Pet. Now, I've actually mentioned, please don't send Uber Pet because Uber, and they ask about the service animal at HART as well. And HART, they always say, are you taking your guide animal? You know, and I don't think they should ask that either because it's part of us. It's like your glasses are part of you or your purse or your whatever. We should not be asked about that. So please kind of think about that when you're training people. I think that's all I had.
Thank you.
My bad dog.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other comment?
Any other public comment?
Brief comment.
Let's give the.
So Lynn, just for the record, okay. For the record, and both your record and our record, drivers are required to announce any stop requested by a person with a disability. That's part of the regulation, okay. And
Yeah, it's an ADA requirement.
Danielle?
Danielle?
No more, right? No more public comment?
I'm sorry, what was that?
Do you have any more public comment?
No, I do not know of any other public comment. Oh, I apologize. There is one more person raising their hand for public comment.
All right, come on up.
Thank you. My name is Tristan Hunt. I didn't sign up to speak, but I was thinking about the Uber issue. Now everything's going to technology as far as the portal. Let's say if you have an issue like we had Saturday, where we had 2 Uber drivers who denied us. Yellow Cab, they were so supportive in getting us home with a 3rd driver. Going through that portal is a headache. And it's not user friendly as far as accessible with screen readers, JAWS. I know because I've tried it umpteen times. I'm still trying to put in a report about that situation. There needs to be user friendly software. If these companies are going to provide the service that they're going to provide, they need to have proper software or accessible stuff that all of us can use. Going through that portal and trying to find what you're looking for, by the time you get there, you forget what you're writing for, what you're trying to put it in. So that's something that was I wanted to address.
was your Uber denial a result of an Uber that was dispatched by Yellow?
Yeah. What happened?
Oh.
It was because of a guide dog issue.
Yeah.
And that was twice Saturday. It took us 30 minutes to get home. And
you're trying to file a complaint and having a problem with it? Well, let me say this, HART, if HART is contracting with Yellow and Yellow is contracting with Uber, ultimately HART is responsible for the denial that took place with Uber. So HART needs to get in touch with Uber because this is a nationwide problem and Uber's not listening.
Right.
And HART has a little more influence than we have as individuals. Yellow has more influence than we have as individuals. And if they're going to be dispatching vehicles, they need to follow the law as well. And those drivers need to be terminated, and HART needs to follow up and make sure that that's done.
Right.
There's a Lyft driver out there right now talking about how they can deny access to people with disabilities using service animals.
Right.
And that man needs to be terminated as well. So HART is responsible for the actions of Uber. in this situation because under the ADA, they are contracting with Uber through Yellow Cab.
Like I said, Yellow, they're doing an excellent job as far as helping us out with the trips. It's the driver, we actually had this second driver that came through who said clearly, and he came out of his car and told us, Uber does not accept guide dogs. And that came straight from his mouth.
Thank you, Mr. Hunt.
I think, last comment, then we gotta go through the round table.
We have two, Ms. Diane and Ms.
Ms. Jenkins. We got two comments, and then we gotta go to the round table. Quickly, please.
I had a question for Mr. and Mrs. Hunt. What platform was it that you were trying to make the complaint on, that you had difficulty accessing? Uber. The Uber platform, okay.
And
I had a question. I think we had this conversation, and Kelly, maybe you can refresh my memory about, I've heard multiple times that individuals are not flagged in the system, but I remember we talked about if an individual has like a mobility equipment or a service animal. Was that something that you guys do keep track of?
So with HART Plus, we do have to ask those questions, and at the time I wasn't unsure, I think Mr. Love wasn't here, so I wasn't sure how Yellow Cab was handling it at the time we had that conversation. But yes, when you call to book a trip with HART Plus, because it's a shared ride, there are certain questions we need to ask to see if we need to give you more space and to see how many people we can share the ride with. So we do ask about service animals and mobility devices as well.
Okay, thank you. That was the first part. The second question, or I wanted to ask, was to the community and to Marion, asking what solutions, aside, because of course I don't want to be flagged either. I'm a person with a disability. I have been left on the side of the road with an Uber because of my walker umpteen times, and so I share that, where I've been left and people will not let me in their vehicle because they don't want to pick up my walker. So I want to know what suggestions, maybe solutions, could we come up with that would be able to help us to get through this? Because this has been a topic multiple times now, and I want to get through it just like you, because I don't want to be left anywhere either.
Well, am I on? So I think Yellow's doing a lot. There we go. Maybe?
No, you turned yourself off.
I turned myself off, okay. I think Yellow's doing a much better job now than they have in the past. I appreciate the fact that they're dispatching Ubers. I kind of like that. I get there when I need to go.
Yeah.
It's an Uber problem with the service animals, and that was why the flagging is an issue if it causes you to not get a ride in due time. I haven't had that issue recently, but the fact that they asked about the service animal raised a red flag for me. Sure. Because I don't want to be flagged. I don't want someone dispatching a cab based upon the fact that I have a service animal.
I completely agree, and just like when I call Uber, I should not have to let them know before they pick me up I have a walker, but I do now because I don't want to be left. So
well, you
I
gotta
understand.
you got to keep your walker from shedding.
If I may say something, because I'm listening to all this, and it's getting frustrating for me that listening to all this. The reason they ask, do you have a separate dog, is so they can send the right vehicle to you. The reason they ask is, do you got a walker, or are you in a wheelchair, so they can send the right driver to you. We want to get the way we're going. We don't care about all that. At least I don't care. I just want to get where I need to go. I mean, come on. But I've been a patient of HART Plus from day one. And I've seen the ups and downs. There's always going to be some ups and downs. No matter what service, Yellow, HART, or whatever again. It's going to always be some ups and downs. Now, let's not forget, when you call Uber is an independent person who uses their own vehicle. The vehicle does not belong to Uber. It belongs to the driver. So if the driver doesn't want to pick you up, they have the right to do so.
No. If a realtor picks up a client, that vehicle now becomes a place of public accommodation. Uber is using their vehicle to affect commerce, and that by definition makes it a place of public accommodation.
So what is the issue with, how do we solve the issue with?
That's gonna be the DOJ's problem. We need to get the DOJ on it, and we need to do it strongly. Anyway, we're not gonna solve the Uber issue, but, Hart and Yellow need to realize that Uber could be problematic for them, so.
Ms. Williams has
Okay.
Ms. Williams has a comment.
All right, now they want to do it. Thank you.
Ms. Williams has a comment. Ms. Williams has a comment.
All right.
Thank you, Chair Jenkins. I just have been listening to the reports and the number of instances that there's interaction with the community, and then also the conversations around the complaints or some aspect of feedback that could be addressed and provide a better experience. And so, I have recently attended a session with a number of bus drivers who are just, they care so much about making sure the experience is the best possible experience they can deliver. And then also when we visit with the employees, Mr. Drainville is with us, and you can attest to the fact that they are giving feedback. They're sharing situations that they could, see improvement, including training, including other aspects of what's happening. I think based on the fact that when someone says that there's 92% on-time arrival, I also thought about, well, there's 8% that's not being addressed. And in my recommendation, I saw Mr. Drainville writing, and I know a number of his staff members are writing down this information that we should, maybe I would recommend we get some kind of feedback based on the complaints and categorize them and actions that we're taking. I just looked at your follow-up in the back of the page, and it just provides that clarity for each one of the situations that have happened, and we could all do better, and we want to do better, specifically, especially for this board and what we serve here. So no complaint is less than enough to address. And I just wanted to share that information because it is something that we will take a look at and go back and one too many, one is enough, two is enough, 25, there's 25 situations that happen, and we could always do better, but I do know that, I recently had the opportunity to meet with the employees, and they too suggest ideas and recommendations that could be addressed because of their experiences. And so by communicating with what's happening, I think we can close some of the gaps, or at least give confidence that your issue or concern is being addressed, which is, if it's your issue, then it's my issue. And so that's the kind of commitment that we make. And I can assure you that on behalf of the board that this committee is I would say a priority, and we want to make sure that on behalf of the board that we bring those things forward and are addressing them. And thank you for your time.
Thank you. And we're going to do round table now.
So you just want to ask them if they have roundtable?
Is there anyone online that got anything for round table? Yes, go ahead.
Raquel.
Thank you.
I just want to thank everybody. It was a very lively and educational comment time period, especially the community members that have shared some information. I think that's always very valuable for our community members to attend and share their feedback. And I just want to encourage the community members to continue to come back as they are experiencing situations and reporting them as soon as possible. Again, providing those dates, times, locations can be very valuable information. I know that Marion actually had shared some concerns with me in regards to some training and the recent event that was held. But I'll let him take the lead. I did not receive any information about that event, but I'll have to say that I actually have been finding that sometimes these meeting notices actually have been going to my spam and junk mail, so I may have been missing some of those notifications because of that as well. Thank you.
Other people online. Even none. The roundtable book.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes. So I want to talk about this Heart for All meeting that Mary and I went to. I got an invitation, I think it was by accident, because, first of all, the announcement was completely inaccessible. This was a meeting, when we got there, that we found out was for the media and politicians. And Mary and I were the only obviously disabled people in the room. And this was all about how much HART is doing for the disabled community. And nobody on this body was even invited to it. Nothing about us without us. What happens to that? When HART says that they're committed to people with disabilities, don't wrap your bus in Heart for All logos and bring the media in and talk about how great HART is doing for people with disabilities, but leave us out? What's with that? Why? Because we might tell a different story? I don't know. But it was the most offensive display of ableism I have seen from HART in a very long time. And I want to say, this video that they produced about this person who works at PDQ, one of the things that the manager said was he's never late for work. And we find out why, because the mother said he wasn't showing up on time for work, so we take him to work in the morning. And he takes the bus home, or he takes paratransit home at night. Again, none of us were even invited to come to something that was supposed to be about us.
I appreciate everything that you were sharing. I just want to make sure we have a full picture. I was invited to represent the committee, and unfortunately, I had personal obligations that day, and I was not able to make it, so I just want to make sure I share that as well.
The chair wasn't invited.
No, I was not. But that's fine. You did. You were there, you did a good job. But I wasn't invited. Well, that's fine. But at least you were there.
I was invited. I was not able to attend.
I know I was, but I think, just in respect for the feedback that our fellow committee member has brought forward, I think it's worth looking at the invite list and be more public about it and what's happening. I think that's truly good feedback. Marian, thank you.
Yeah, we can make sure that it is accessible to readers. I do know that the invitation did go out to the committee. So I don't know if it was Ms. Pancho mentioned some of her stuff was going to her junk mail. It is possible. We do our invites through constant contact. So there is a possibility that your invitations are going to there, but we'll double check the list as well. Thank you very much for your comments.
And this is Ms. Luce. I was actually at the event as well. Marian, I spoke to you there. It would be nice, if it hasn't happened yet, to maybe have someone come and talk to the committee about the Heart for All campaign. I know it had some specific focuses, and if I understand it correctly, it was focused on people who use paratransit and fixed route, who also have cognitive delays. I think it's the primary focus. I could be wrong. I would love the opportunity to ask more questions.
Right.
But yeah.
I believe how long you follow up with that. Yeah, go ahead.
Was that my roundtable opportunity? Because I can have, okay, because I did have something I wanted to say. This is Diane again. We talk, obviously, and I served on a similar committee, actually the same committee, I guess you'd call it a sister committee, with links in Central Florida for many years. So I feel at home here. So first of all, I'll say that, and that's a nice feeling. And I know, we hear the word complaint a lot, and we share about them, and that's how we target where we want to make changes and improvements. But as Ms. Williams was saying, we do have some wonderful drivers on both the fixed route and paratransit side, because when I often hear about those too from the clients that I serve. And so I'm wondering, just from the system, and from the committee, what is done, and this is sort of a rhetorical question, I don't want it answered today, I just would like to maybe see, again, as we move forward, some evidence of this. What is done to commend those drivers who are doing well? When I do ask people or encourage riders to call in with their complaints, I also, in the same sentence, say, and when you have a really great trip, call in with that information as well, because they don't hear that often enough. And I just think it would be neat if in the future, I don't know if it could be every time we meet, so once per quarter, if maybe this committee could somehow recognize a driver that's done well, that's had a commendation, or it would. I think it would be really nice if we could do that.
Yeah, we have done that, because when I call and give a driver a compliment, they'll call in the office and giving a certificate, and it has my name on it, and they're like, who gave the comment? Now, I don't know if they can come here, because they may be on the road.
So definitely we can recognize, we do on-the-spot awards, and we could make accommodations to have the operators come here and be recognized, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I would like that much. Thank you.
And
I've been pretty quiet because it's been a very robust, I think, constructive meeting discussion. I appreciate everybody's voice. I'm happy to be present and listen firsthand. I too missed the email, but that sounds familiar, so I must have just missed it. So I was wondering if I know that we meet quarterly, but if efforts like that and events that are being hosted by HART can be mentioned at these meetings. And so that would just be just a introduction. People can make notes, and the more we can announce it, the better. So thank you very much.
We will, thank you.
all right. My roundtable is, thank you for good to meet you. Finally, been waiting on you. It's good to see you. We appreciate all of your comments, and the judges, and Danny, and Brandon in the audience. Thank you for your presentation. There are a lot of good drivers out there. They've been around a long time, and I know them. But like I said, we got good drivers, we got bad drivers. We do, it's gonna be Hillsborough, Pinellas, Orlando, wherever we go. It's gonna be good people. And maybe that land is better than you can't pay people to can't. But you thinking should be for the people that you are taking care of. The people that you are doing service for. That should be the main thing here at HART. Not only moving bodies, not only moving cars. We want to care for the people. So that's why we had this board here. And I did this board very seriously. Because I learned from one of the best that standards out there that was just here. And I follow all of her old stuff that she used to do. So, and I will be taking on these bus stops. And I will be riding around looking at all of the. Don't think because I'm in the year, I don't look around. I ride the bus, I ride the van, I ride the trolley, I do it all. And I will be taking on everything as this year, because I don't take this thing lightly. Just because you're sitting up here, this is a great honor to be sitting up here at the top, helping the people out. That's what we do. We don't come here to complain. We don't come here to say what you can do. This is an advisory committee. We advise. That's all we can do is advise. It is up to the CEO and all in depth to take our comments to heart and do what they would do accordingly to help the people. That's what we do here. So don't take it lightly, because I don't take it lightly at all. Because I ride the man every day. And I want the good service that we used to have back in the day. Back in the old days, where people come knock on your door. People don't pull up and wait for 5 minutes and then pull off. Get out of the van, knock on the door. Because I was in the van, I was in one van going to the doctor. The driver did not get out of the van and go tell that lady who was at the doctor's office that he was there to pick her up. He waited 5 minutes and put the button on the thing. And whoever was on the other line told him to pull off. And if I wasn't on that van looking out that window, that lady would have got left. But the lady is hollering, oh, wait. I looked. And they stopped the van. The lady like, yeah. I'm not leaving that thing. She's on the walker. How can you leave people on walkers? How can you leave them with you? Don't pull up and wait 5 minutes, because we all know the rules. We supposed to be ready at the beginning of the window. But you may not get picked up to the end of the window. Always be watching for the van. But don't let that we're supposed to know. But because we may be in the house because it's raining. It's a door-to-door service. Knock on the door. And let someone know that you're out there to get picked up. Okay?
Thank you.
No business? No business? No? All right. The meeting is now adjourned. Thank you, ladies. Have a good weekend.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Have a wonderful Thanksgiving, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thank you as well. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, Arizona. Do you want me to turn your phone back on? Okay, I have it back on, and I'm gonna put it in here.
Okay.
Do you want me to keep these in a box? Okay, I'll put them with mine.